Hey guys, Mark Schuyler from Westy Travels. Here's my wiring diagram. Just created this over the past week. I've run it by two electrical engineers, but I am not a professional. I'm just like you, a do-it-yourselfer. So I was looking for this on the internet or something like this for a long time. I couldn't find it, so I decided to make it. You can see from just a cursory glance at everything here that I'm a big believer in Victron. I love Victron stuff and I love Battleborn. So the Victron is all smart controllers and smart devices, meaning they're wireless, they're Bluetooth, and I can get all the information on my iPhone. All right, a couple little comments about this wiring diagram. It has the energy producers on the left-hand side of the screen here. I have three different energy sources. On the right-hand side over here, I have the strictly energy consumers, including this big inverter right here. Well, big for me, 1200 watt pure sine wave inverter. So let's take a look at the first source of energy, which is the Renogy solar panel up here. It's a 100 watt panel. I have it in my VW Camper's forward luggage rack area. It's sunk down in there, out of sight, out of mind. I'll have, by the way, the descriptions of all the parts in the links, all that in the comments down below under the comments. So yeah, like usual, you know the drill. So you can see I've got a negative and a positive. The positive is got a little 10 amp inline fuse here from Renogy, and it's going into a double pole breaker, which is code. And I was running this panel for over a year without this breaker, and I was apparently in defiance of the code, the electric code, saying that if you have a solar and a permanent sort of solar setup and a system, even if it's in an RV or camper, you need that double pole breaker. So I have it, yay! 20 amp fuse coming out of that and into the Victron MPPT solar charge controller. You cannot connect your panels directly to your battery. You need this in between. You can see that the wires come out of here, and the negative goes to a big 150 amp bus bar. I'm using these bus bars, both the positive and the negative down here, the negative here and the positive here. I'm using them because I don't want to have as much stacked up on the positive terminal of my battery. I don't want to have so many connections on the negative shunt. So you use these bus bars, put a lot of stuff, a lot of the connections on there, and then just run one big connection from that over to the negative or the positive terminal. So many people have asked me, why am I running two solar charge controllers? And the answer is I have another different kind of solar panel. If I had the same kind of panel as this Renogy over here with the same specs, same voltage, then I wouldn't need a second charge controller. But I like having this extra deployable solar panel. It folds out. It's a 110 watt panel, and you see I have it connect in through the solar hookup box on the outside of my van, and then it connects directly into my system. Since it's not always deployed, in fact, it's only deployed on some of the longer camps, when I'm in a site for a while, I do not have the double pole breaker on that. But it is fused, and it comes out just like the other solar charge controller, and it goes to the positive down here and the negative bus bars. If you follow, there's an 20 amp fuse on the positive. Now, that's one source of energy, solar. The other major one that I'm using all the time whenever the van's moving is this Orion battery to battery, DC to DC charger. And it basically works with my alternator, and it allows for energy being produced from the alternator to be stepped up a little bit and distributed between the starter battery, and all that excess is coming over here to my onboard battery. The coach battery, I believe they call it on bigger RVs, and that's great. Really no danger of running low on energy if you have an Orion installed. Before that, I tried to make do with just solar panels, and it was never enough. I always had to hook up with the next source of energy, which is down here, the shore power hookup. I have another one of these outside hookup boxes, is right next to the solar hookup box, and I can just plug AC in directly, and I make a choice on the app on whether I'm going to charge slowly at 4 amps or 15 amps. I can do a quick charge, 15 amps into a 100 amp battery. So if it's totally depleted, it would take me just a little more than 6 hours to totally charge that back up. So even at 15 amps, that's quite a long charge time. Okay, so having gone over the 3 different types of energy, 3 different sources, want to get back into taking a good look at this shunt, which is new to me. I just did an unboxing on the Battleborn battery, the shunt, and the 1200 watt pure sine wave inverter. If you haven't seen that, just take a quick look at that video as well. So these 3 core elements of the system are really what's forced me to create the wiring diagram in the first place. I had everything else installed without a wiring diagram, and I realized that really it was time to put this together visually and share it with others, because, as I say, this information I would have found helpful. So the shunt, it is going to much better than just looking at voltage. That used to be the way that people knew or had a sense of how full their battery was with energy and how much was remaining, was by taking a look at the voltage. And if you get to know your battery, depending on if it's lead acid or lithium or glass mat, you get a sense of, okay, at that voltage, it's 50% full or it's 25% full. Not a very good system, very, very general and ballpark guesses on the condition of your battery. With these smart shunts, you're down to, I think, single digit idea of, within maybe 5% of the actual state of your battery. And that's going to help a lot. See the one connection here on the very large cable, the 2-aught cable, coming in on this terminal of the shunt, but everything else is supposed to, all the other negatives are supposed to go onto this terminal. We are running the small little red wire over from the positive. This way it has a complete look, the shunt has a complete look of both energy coming in from my 3 energy sources and energy being used by all my devices. Whether an AC device like the inverter, or whether all these DC devices over here that are off of the little fuse panel, the Blue Seas fuse panel I have here. Okay, so the shunt, exciting, new to me. I have got another big wire coming. It's the only other wire that's nearly as big as this one on the battery's negative terminal, is this 2-gauge wire for the inverter. It's a bit of an energy pig, this 1200 watt inverter. And it is enough, though, for me to run everything I need in my camper van space. GoPros, drones, obviously the iPhone and my laptop, and even on the low setting, my wife's hairdryer. That's right. So, I'm sure for an RV, you would want something, a big RV, 2-3 times that size. But it's nice and compact and fits right behind my driver's seat. Wait for the video and you'll see the installation spots for all of these devices. So here we are, moving beyond the core of the system over here to the DC, the power users. I'm going to actually start by telling you a little bit about this Engel fridge. It is a little bit of an older model. I bought it on a trip out to go Westy more than a decade ago, maybe 13, 14 years ago. It's still running like a top. I think it's the 45-liter model, and it may not be as energy efficient as another modern fridge, but it's probably not that far behind. I do know that when it's cranking, it might be using 4 amps. And of course, it's not running continuously. It's cycling on and off depending on the ambient temperatures and how cold you want things on the inside. But I want you to notice something. Even with a 100 amp hour battery like this Battleborn, if this 4 amp fridge is running nearly continuously, I can only get about 24, 25 hours, a full day out of it. So thank God, hopefully it's only running half the time. Maybe that's 2 days then. So I better have some energy coming in either from the solar panels, the Orion, or the shore charger, right? Because just a couple days to run the fridge would deplete even this big Battleborn battery. So, but I'm happy with it, and it's not worth getting a more energy efficient refrigerator when this one is still working great. Then I have my Alpine system. And this is the big head unit with a 9-inch diagonal screen, and I can run a great nav program on there, really see everything. I can obviously run my music, and then I made sure to get a really good backup camera installed on there. And so love my Alpine, and this is the Alpine amp that is under the bench seat. It too has a fairly large wire running off of it, and independently fused, of course. Here's the 60 amp fuse. And the smaller fused things, 30 amps and less, would be going to this Blue Seas fuse panel. But something like I needed a 60 amp fuse for this amp. It couldn't run through this little fuse panel. But I am running the Propex heater and the little display, the control unit, and the other camper circuits in my van through there, along with the fridge and both pieces of the Alpine car stereo. Yay! Hey, I think that you might want to pause the video at some point if you're really interested in this diagram. You might want to actually trace out where everything goes, but I do think it's logically set up with energy producers, 3 different forms over here. The bus bars helping out so things aren't as cluttered on the 2 major terminals, and the core of my system here that's all pretty new, which inspired the wiring diagram, and then all the DC little circuits over here on this fuse panel. I've been building up to this, supplementing it, adding to it for years. Most of this is in place. There are a few things I still have to do, and I've been taking video as I go along, so I'll be able to give you the actual install video of all these components and where I put them in the VW space. So I'm more than happy to get feedback, constructive feedback from folks. This is something that I know, since I'm not a professional. Some of you have a professional background and can give me some more helpful hints. Others might have some questions. I just was hoping for something like this online, never found it, and so I'm just trying to add to the community knowledge, and I really do hope it helps you. All right, thanks, and see you in the comments section. Bye now.